So,
I'm actually
moving on to our next topic, which is the actual the main title of our podcast, the generational sandwich. Great title
Generations
is.
into the fuckers.
Great title is.
Why the fuck is it? Did you say degenerational or intergenerational?
Intergenerational, whatever.
I was about to say degenerational. I didn't know we were going fucking
I don't know
backwards.
why I said intergenerational, considering the fact that you three are millennials and I'm the only Gen Z here.
technically speaking, yes.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Zoom zoom. Okay, Mazda.
Okay, calm down. Liz, calm down. Liz.
I'm sitting here drinking my Capri Sun with like Paw Patrol on it. I really don't know.
Oh no!
You know what?
Oh,
you know
no,
what?
Liz.
You know what? You know what? Just because Alchem did that?
Yes. Let me move this out of the way.
Here you go, Alchem.
Oh no! Give me the juice pack. Give me
Oh
the
no.
Zoom zoom. Zoom zoom.
What did you do? What have you done? So concerned.
Why is this so old?
It's a very old commercial, that's why.
This is older
Oh
than
my
me.
god! This fucking commercial. I remember this. I saw people making fun of this shit. Hold on.
Zoom zoom, dude.
Just because I just want to hear this stupid
I
shit.
don't know if it's in English though.
Oh, great! I'm gonna hear zoom. They're gonna say it in the fucking. Oh wait. Where's the stupid little kid going zoom? I just want to hear that stupid part. There he is. Oh my. The fuck is this stupid shit? Alright, that's enough of that.
I'm concerned.
Case in point, our generation is. Case in point, our generation is completely dumb.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus.
Thanks.
So yes, let's move on. What? I didn't.
Alright.
You're.
I'm giving you the damn rundown. Okay.
Give us a rundown.
So, there's this thing called generations of the Western world. They're more likely to be brought up in the United States, so I don't know why it's it. But basically, the generation names, there's Lost Generation, Greatest Generation, Silent Generation, Baby Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z. So we're going to be talking about 4 of them because these are the ones that are actually still alive in great numbers.
Okay.
We'll be talking about Baby Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z.
Oh
pretty
boy.
sure.
Oh boy.
So you just want me to talk about 2? I'll talk about I don't know, the first and the second and the last, and you can just talk about the mid ones.
Okay, everyone here has at least one that they can talk about. I know I can talk about Gen Xers.
I just know that I know a lot about this kind of
I know.
stuff.
And the
These
thing,
two would have to look it up.
what we'll do is we'll do this. Whatever you guys have any knowledge of, any understanding of, chime in. Let us know. Hell, if you have a family, a relative, someone who's from that gen, and you know their behaviorals and everything like that, chime in. So, starting off, should we go backwards, forwards, or should we just give a mismatch of every single one? I think we should organize this better and not just do mix mash. Let's see. Starting off, let's go with the boomers then.
I'll give you that.
Liz, give us a rundown. She had to clap. She had to clap.
I have to laugh every time I see it. I also have my retainer in, so I'm gonna lisp probably a little bit. Sorry.
It's fine.
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. I'm failing. Okay, baby boomers, also known as boomers. They are defined as a generation from 1946 to 1964. They're widely associated as privilege, because they grew up with increasing affluence and post-war economy, which means that they grew up during a very good time for growth within themselves and in the capability. Can you stop doing that? I can see it because I have it halfway set up.
Sorry.
They were relatively big. That's why they were called baby boom, because there was a fuck ton of children born during this period because all these military men came back. They survived because it's modern war times, so more men came back. And they fucked intensively, like rallies. So there's like a lot of fucking kids. Is really sad, actually. There's also some different names that they usually use for them. There's the term Generation Jones, and it's used to refer to the later years of baby boomers, and they're kind of closer to Gen X in birth years, and there was an ongoing battle between them because a handful of cultural commentators wanted to coin or promote terms of subsections of baby boomers. So there's like golden boomers, Generation Jones, alpha boomers, hippies, yippies, yuppies, zoomers, and cuspers. Yes, they were called zoomers first. Fuck you. Stop calling me that. You make me sad. Making me sad.
Okay, Liz. Okay. It's okay to be a zoomer.
Here we go.
All right.
So by 2020, 25% of employees will be at least 55 years old. So they will start retiring during this kind of portion because, they'll be too old, and that's when Gen X will be around the time in which they will soon be retiring in their, they will be setting up for their retirements because they're all 50s, 60s, and hitting their 70s.
Right.
So boomers are slowly phasing out of the workforce unless, they're in politics. They're there forever. Boomers grew up in a dramatic of social change. It was all around, the civil rights movement, deep issues between abortion and homosexuality. These deep-rooted issues started coming out during this time. They also grew up during the Vietnam War, where they participated in it. That means they were going through a lot of turmoil between what they felt was right and what they felt was wrong. And some memorable events that also happened was Red Scare, with the Cold War,
the Cold War,
Cuba Missile Crisis, assassinations of John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Martin Luther King Jr., Watergate, Nixon's resignation, Walk on the Moon, lower drinking age of 18 in many states, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving, oil embargo, plenty of random shit.
So Liz,
yeah.
During that era, with all those changes and everything, how did it impact the personalities? Of course, everyone has their own unique personality, but in general, most of these generations get impacted in certain ways. So what were the traits?
Most of the time, they're associated as being kind of they're really strict in terms of their work life and their social life. And a lot of the times, that can lead to controlling parents, like helicopter parents. And they actually impacted Gen X with this because Gen X was warned against being helicopter parents and just letting your children, like controlling your children's every move. So this is the main reason that was warning for many of them. Sorry, I'm trying not to fucking cough.
And take a drink of something. Take a drink of your juice. Your
juice pack.
Drink of your Capri Sun in the little kitty pouch.
So a lot of
gonna kill me.
Yeah, I'm kicking your ass. Important, what they see in as the most important statistics of baby boomers, as in overall in their characteristics, is strong work ethic. Which those of you who don't know what that is, it means that they work really well. They try to get things done in a timely manner, and they put a lot of responsibility on themselves for making sure that the work is good quality and that they get it done on time. And they're self-assured, have great confidence in themselves, and they feel like they are more likely than not the best course of action for being able to solve problems. They're competitive and goal-centric, as well as resourceful, mentally focused, team-oriented, and disciplined. Now, most of the things that they're also tasked with is that they have an incapability of change. They don't like the turning tides. Because of those different circumstances that they grew up with, they associated change with negative aspects and things that, as they determined, change is bad. So they aren't really good at electronics or technical stuff now because of their lack of being able to deal with that sort of move towards technology, and it's sort of sad, but there's nothing really much they can fucking do. Certain other statistics is that, oh geez, a lot of them use Facebook. That's really sad. I'm sorry, but that really is really sad. They spend time reading blogs and on articles about information, and 70% enjoy watching videos about products and services. So they tend to be more into just watching random shit. That it makes more sense to them as we're using the internet as a tool, not something to have fun with. We're doing it to learn information. So that's mainly their way of looking into media and stuff. So that's what forces most of their ideals on that. So their impacts on history is that they are associated with, oh, sorry, I'm looking into it.
Oh.
They're associated with counterculture of the 1960s, the civil rights movement, and the second wave feminist cause. And they trended in moderate to conservative directions, opposite to the counterculture, especially those making professional careers in military, enlisted areas, law enforcement, big leagues. And people often take it for granted that each succeeding generation will be better off than before it. When Gen X came after the boomers, it would be the first generation to enjoy a lesser quality of life than the generation preceding it. And that leads into Gen X. Alchem?
Yes. Oh, right. I was supposed to study.
You're just listening all the time.
Moving on.
I'm over here he sounds like he's in school or something.
And that actually is
shit, I forgot
that
to
actually
study.
is the that is one of the whole traits of Gen Xers. Gen Xers growing up as children, their parents of the previous gen, the boomer gen, and slightly before then, still had the ideology of the family dichotomy. Family comes first. You must work hard. You must work for family. You must maintain that family lifestyle. Now, the issue that happened there is you worked very hard, meaning you were not available a lot of the time. And for the boomer generation, this started to grow. The boomer gens started to have a larger female workforce, which meant that females also worked in the job, meaning mothers worked at jobs too. That parents were not always there for the kids after school, at least until they got home from work, which led to generations of kids, especially in the Generation X, in those ages, to have to basically, once they're done school, they're free. There's no adult supervision. They either just go home, watch TV, play games, go outside, go hang out, go do whatever. Into trouble.
Those are the generations that got heavily into more drug use to the point in which it was practically an epidemic.
Exactly. This is during the Gen Xers started to grow during the age, especially during crack epidemic, where rampant use.
There were 70s, 80s, 90s, drug-infused decades.
Exactly. So these children without much adult supervision, and this is before widespread childcare became a thing. Before there were daycare centers all over the goddamn. So,
well, let's say though, it was less likely for there to be single mothers and single fathers.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Actually, in that era that Gen Xers were growing up in, they grew up with high family divorce, which is what led to mothers working, which led to fathers either mothers or fathers being the single parent and working to support family. caused this whole gen. Basically, the term was latchkey kids.
We thought of this as the norm now.
Yeah, a lot of us think of this as kind of norm for some people. Some of them not so much. Some families still keep the family dichotomy, and it's actually because of Gen Xers. Because some of them who grew up like this kind of did not want to do that.
Baby boomers.
Yeah, because baby
boomers significantly increased the divorce rate.
Yeah. Baby boomers were the ones who increased the divorce rate, which in turn caused Gen Xers to be basically without parents so much in terms of supervision after school and stuff, especially during the summer year. And these are also the Gen Xers are also known not only as latchkey kids because of lack of supervision. They were also known as, let's see, what was one of the bigger things? Oh, yeah, they were also called the MTV generation because, no supervision. Some kids just stayed home watching TV, watching, MTV because that started to become the more popular thing. And, yeah, they were just terms and nicknames that got onto them. Nowadays, because they all grow up. They're up now. They are.
My dad's 50.
They are
He's Gen X.
Characteristics known for the Gen Xers. They value now that they have to enter the workforce. They do value work, but they also value their own free time. So while they will focus on the jobs at hand, they typically would like a job that is very flexible in terms of hours or gives them more free time to do what they'd like to do. They don't like to basically be under someone constantly. They don't like to have strict rules and guidelines. They will seek out a job that is more flexible, that doesn't have a manager constantly supervising, constantly going over them. They are also Gen Xers. Go on, Liz.
They're considered to be what most employers want in a workforce.
Mm-hmm. They tend to be very open, energetic, because they don't see the work. They don't want to see a job as a job. They want to see it as something slightly different because they don't want to feel that entrapment. Which, like Liz says, that's actually what a company would like, especially nowadays.
And mostly is because they also have good, strong work ethic, and they have the flexibility needed to change. Unlike baby boomers, so they're a lot more fitting with modern economy now.
Exactly. And speaking of modern, we also have modern technology. Most Gen Xers started to grow since it was around the era of the 80s.
Most of them were adolescents.
Yeah, most of them were adolescents in terms of technology growth, like internet, like the phones, everything. They started to actually grow up with this stuff.
Well, actually, they weren't adolescents. Most of them were adults.
Most of them were teens.
Early young adulthood.
Yeah. Young teens or yeah.
No, late teens. Young adults and adults.
But they were still at the cusp of the technology boom. Everything started to get
Those
better.
Millennials, Alchem.
You're talking about like modern era computer. We're talking about like old ass cell phones.
No, my dad was in his 20s, and he's 50 now when computers came out, and so I know that these were late teens,
but
early adulthood and adulthood.
The late Xers were basically when technology started to increase. While internet was not everywhere yet, some children of that generation got used to using some technology, and they could adapt really quickly. And like I said, right now though, we still have Gen Xers who are very active in the workforce, very active in other things. So the impacts that they have, I mean, we still have a little bit more to see, but mostly
they're just now taking the cusp of politics and coming in as the next head of the government.
Exactly.
Because they're all encroaching on, their 45s, 40s, 30s areas of times in which they're allowed to become president and allowed to go into politics. So they're just now coming in, phasing out baby boomers.
So their impact on society and what future generations will have, we still have not yet seen. There are small signs, but nothing in which we can make a good determination.
That's why their name is Gen X, because they don't have much specification for what they're doing. They're sort of in between millennials and baby boomers in terms of what they are doing. Who knows if they'll get a name later? It always happens.
Gen X,
but
MTV Gen, Lost Gen. They were given so many nicknames, but yeah, they're a weird one. They weren't really given a proper title. They're given a couple of nickname ones.
They're like Gen Z, and they don't know what they're capable of yet, and they haven't done anything increasing.
Exactly. Moving on from Gen Xers, we now have what the majority of us here are millennials.
Thanks, guys.
3 out of 4.
Oh boy, 3 out of 4. That's more than half.
I'm so sad.
That's what we call it 75% right there.
I swear Liz is gonna fucking
Hooray!
Mazel tov.
No.
I get into your weird ass generation, you son of a bitch.
I mean,
come on. I'll let Cloudy and Wiz take over for your. I'll chime in when I need to.
Fuck. I don't know. I don't know where to begin.
Cloudy, have you done your homework?
No.
Oh, okay then. Because good, we don't do homework.
I don't think he was expecting that.
Well, first off, I thought we were originally doing boomers, and besides,
we originally were doing boomers, and we talked about boomers, and you didn't chime in.
Millennials as a thing, anyways. Here's the thing: we're in the fun cusp between. Wow, man! Remember when fucking all this activism and all this other stuff was happening, and then 9/11 happened, and then the internet happened. That's basically what you can sum up our generation as. Internet was cool, terrorism is bad. Man, Deus Ex was right about a lot of things. God.
Fuck.
Oh shit. Okay.
Seriously, if you go back and play Deus Ex, it's actually frightening how I'm like, yeah, this is kind of close to our real life now, and that game takes place in 2050. So it doesn't necessarily surprise me that like currently we're in a very fun generation in between of like ongoing recessions. Well, like currently we're like apparently like I don't know where I heard this from, but I heard from some of the people I know of who are looking into the job market. We're supposed to hit a new recession soon or something like that because it happens every 4 to 8. Was that? I think it happens every 8 years or something. And our last one was like what? 2008. Yeah, 2008. So it's like about a decade. So yeah, it should be happening sooner or later.
Yeah, right when I get into college, fucking goddamn.
God, I'm already out of college. Damn on him.
How are you gonna get slapped? What? I'm gonna have to get a job during this.
But I already have a job.
You're gonna slap while you have your college loan and shit.
Yeah,
I don't have a college loan. I got prepaid.
Ah, nice.
Damn.
Capital.
Then they'll be like, sorry, we can't afford it. Good luck.
But that's the fun thing about that's the fun thing about the as a millennial. You're in a very fun in between because there's a lot of people who they consider themselves not even millennials that are millennials. From my understanding, isn't like millennials from like 1985 to 2000 sums?
They are practically like mid 80s on to late 90s.
Somewhere like 84,
like
86.
Most of the time they fucking for some reason decide 1995 onward is Gen Z, but I really doubt it. I'd rather cut that off at 2000 onward. But mostly they're right at the millennium mark. They're coming in right as the millennium is going this way. They're called millennials.
And not only that, they've grown up during an age previous for the like 2000s even started, and remember, like within the decades of the 2000s, like the aughts were a pretty like weird time. 2010s, you know, if we can looking at it, it's because we're closing up. We're closing up towards like the 2020s, towards 2020, and because of that, just looking back in like in the past 2 decades, it's pretty interesting to see just how. Like the millennial generation that is currently going to start taking control of pretty much everywhere, like more or less, like business owners. Because currently right now because there's like a lot of push between like this and like at least in my opinion, I see a lot of people doing this. I call it the prosumer. It's a stupid terminology. It's like producers like developing content or owning businesses, individuals owning like what's it called? What's entrepreneurship is more common nowadays. There are fucking classes in your college. It's no longer a trait that you learn through experience. It's something that is taught in college simply because that's how lucrative it is and how everybody just wants to be their own boss, but wants to work for each other, but not necessarily. You see, like the millennial generation is like a very odd place.
It's a synergy kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
They want to be. They want to be independent, but at the same time, they want to coexist and work.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how it works. It can't work with every single.
To be from data that's actually been taken from most companies, they are known to not like to work in groups or larger groups.
Wait,
they're
why do they not?
Yeah, I looked
into it.
Want
to work in groups. That's kind of.
They're more independent set. They'd rather do things on their own.
Oh, okay. I see.
They're just not group type people, and that's what I've heard actually statistically from colleges is that a lot of kids, they'd come in and they couldn't work with other children. They couldn't work with other adults. They had issues doing things with others, collaborative work, and that's really necessary now, especially now. So it's very difficult. And that also feeds into what they think. We're not talking about politics. I'm gonna say what the majority of them are. That most of them lean towards the left, and that shows how they work in their own sense of politics. There, that's all. But they're currently becoming part of the larger point of the workforce as Gen Z is encroaching their larger portion coming into adulthood. They are currently around their 30s, like oldest around the 30s, youngest are closer to their mid late 20s, or they're in their 20s, like early 20s, mid late 20s. They're the generation right now that is like gonna probably make or break the next 10 years in the workforce right now. They're dealing with what they're gonna make the fucking economy at the moment, really, because they're coming in at alarming rates. They actually are slightly smaller generation than Gen Z, and they're closer in size to that of Gen X. And majority of millennials, in a study that they found, a lot of millennials don't want to have children. So we don't know how that's going to shape up for the next generation. It might be smaller than the two previous. We don't know. Gen Z might fuck like rabbits. We have no clue.
Jesus.
Culturally, they sorry, I'm fucking scrolling through shit. They are more likely to have a large, diverse group of friends from many countries, many races, many backgrounds. Many and plenty of them have people also from different sexualities that they are friends with. More likely than not, almost most of the millennials who come across may have a friend coming from some sort of walk of life that you wouldn't normally have seen in the past two generations, who mostly hung out with groups similar to them. Most of them are more formally educated than previous generations of the past, because college, school in general, was more available and more people were capable of like going through it, because no child left behind, but fuck no child left behind. But I'm trying to see the characteristics right now. Their traits is that, oh no, they consider, I just combined the word. They consider millennials, along with younger members of Gen X, to be a part of what is called Generation Me. This means that they have traits of confidence and tolerance, but describe a sense of entitlement and narcissism. And this is based off of surveys across a lot of millennials. They think that, but some people who are psychologists are stating that, like, they're probably misinterpreting the data or overinterpreting the data, and they think it's more destructive towards it, and they don't know whether or not that they're narcissistic or not. But what I've observed, I've seen it as, yeah, they're more generally selfish than what I've seen before, but that's just among friends and what I've seen on the internet. It could just be a bias of my own, but I don't know. They said that, oh Jesus, many of them are in favor of legalizing the use of marijuana, which makes sense. I don't know how that's a trait, but I guess I should mention it. Pew Research Center also released a report about how millennials in adulthood are detached from institutions and networked with friends. They're somewhat more upbeat than older adults about America's future, with 49% of millennials saying the country's best years are ahead, though they're the first in the modern era to have higher levels of student loan debt and unemployment. Hey, at least you're hoping.
Okay.
My phone is vibrating.
So, one more time for those. What was it again for millennials? What was the age range? I know it was 84 or 86, somewhere around there.
No, they're right now. They're in their early, close to mid 20s. Or are you just talking about
in general? What would be like a millennial then? Like what age, or like what year did you have to be born around?
I would say early 80s to mid 90s, they say, but I would say all throughout the 90s.
Oh, as long as you were born within the 90s or with somewhere around that time.
I'd say 80 to 90s.
You're a millennial then.
Okay. You got clapped, bro.
Right. So basically, anyone after that, basically 2000s, Gen Zers.
Shit, dude, I'm technically classified as a Gen Z because
let me see. Let me just double check.
97. I told you I don't believe that it would be that because.
Let me see. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, because I'm over here.
Because you guys, you're 2 to 3 years older than me, and you're completely different from what I am like.
Technically, because I was born in '96. That's the thing.
So,
I don't know.
Apparently, some studies are saying, the Gen X.
They don't know the start years 19, for Gen Z.
Yeah, this is all like guesses. For Gen Z, Gen Xers, it's even an estimate too. Holy crap.
But
millennials.
I'm going to tell you that the reason why I believe it's 2000 onwards for Gen Z is because America practically changed 2000 in the 2001 because of 9/11. It drastically changed from then on out everyone's outlook and what they wanted to do and their goals. So I grew up after that.
So yeah, basically millennials.
It's like that's a turn of the moment in history for the United States. Like, oh shit, this happened to us. So I would rather think.
Millennials are 1981 to 1996. At least that's like the varying ranges I'm seeing.
So 96.
And post millennials. That's what they're calling them.
They're calling us that.
Are 97 to present.
90. Oh. Shit.
So basically, anyone who's currently at least up to 21 years of age is a post-millennial.
What I think is gay, because you guys are different than me in that kind of regard. Like, even though you guys are just a couple years older than me, you guys experience things that I wouldn't fucking know.
Wiz, pretty much.
Yeah, you, Wiz, you guys have experienced certain things, just like as I, just like as Liz. It's slight variations in our ages.
I have similar stuff that I know that is from things, but I didn't grow up with certain things that you did. I wasn't capable of remembering them either. So that's why I wouldn't classify it as that.
Vividly, I can remember the 90s.
I cannot. I wasn't born then. So
yeah,
that's why I think it's better to classify it 2000.
Vividly remembers the 90s when he was fucking 3 years old. What?
No.
Yeah, the 90s are great when I was like infant.
What the fuck are you trying to say?
No, basically.
It's so hard not to.
You remember 99? You remember 99?
2000. Yeah.
You remember 99?
You remember 99? You remember what happened? What was going on when it was 1999?
Yeah, I was like some stupid kid watching cartoons the whole time. That's it.
I just remember cartoons. I remember that. I don't remember anything big.
All right. Going to school. That's what I
know about them fucking Looney Tunes.
I remember the juice.
Legitimately.
I remember sugar cookies and fruit punch.
If that's the case, then I probably will be a Gen Zer because I do not remember fucking anything until 2001.
It's around there. It's around there. Everything else is just like juice and like fruit punch.
I said 99 and 2000 because that's all I can remember. Everything beyond that, no.
I remember.
I would just say that like you may have done that, but you fucking looked into shit that I would know.
No, I know. I'm like, I remember MTV and stuff, and the only reason I know that is because I have fucking boomer.
Actually a millennial.
I have Gen Z uncles and shit who were showing me a bunch of stuff.
Shit.
And you're like, I don't
know. What is this shit? I was like, what is this shit?
What's MTV?
What the fuck is MTV? Oh, it's that thing that shows houses and shit. It was like, oh no.
Bro, I remember Pimp My Ride.
Yeah, I remember that. And then they're showing me, wait, they actually showed music
MTV
video?
Cribs, dude. MTV Cribs.
I was like, MTV actually had good shit on? What was this?
Dude, VH1 was another one.
Oh, I forgot that existed. The only reason I even know that is because,
you
again...
want to know... Let's go.
Yeah.
It's Gen Z, bitch. It's me.
Oh god, Gen Z no.
Wow, fuck those losers.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Hey.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Do you want to know what song I remember from way back then, guys?
Yeah, that's nice, but I was...
I'm kidding.
Go on.
I'm gonna stab you. Okay. Sorry. Gen Z has been widely known as they grew up. The internet was established before they were born, so they grew up with it pretty much all their lives. So they're very comfortable with technology and social media. Now, let's go. Okay. Not long after September 11th terrorist attacks, one of the fallout disasters, and Americans, they felt that, shit. Why are they mentioning this? Okay, so, yeah, they didn't know what name to name us because no one knows, because everyone was fucking, like, flipping their shit after millennials saw what happened in 2001. So today there are plenty of names suggested for Gen Z. I generation, Gen Tech, Gen Wii, as in like Nintendo Wii system, I don't fucking know. Net Gen and digital natives and plurals. Post millennials is a name given to by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It also said that post-millennials we're ahead of millennials in another health survey showing that we're bigger than millennials and millennials were bigger than baby boomers. So there's like, we large, bitch.
Large and charge.
iGeneration or iGen is the name that most people have claimed it as to be, but I just prefer Gen Z because, we don't really know. Some of them believe we can also be called the Centennials, which is, yeah, I guess, maybe. New York Times in 2018 did a survey, and they thought that many people wanted it to be called the Delta generation or Deltas. And they suggested it as like a favorite label because Delta is used to denote change and uncertainty in mathematics and sciences, and the generation is shaped by change and uncertainty. We don't know what will fucking happen. So we come into a world where we can't even predict what the fuck is going to go on. Okay. Most of the times people determine it as late 90s, early 2000s as the beginning of the generation, and there isn't much defined end to it, but a lot of people want to do it. They cap it at the 10s, which I really don't think they should cap it at the 10s, but do what you fucking will. Okay, so characteristics is that most are children of Gen X and early millennials. And the Great Recession, most of us grew up as younger children during that, which is like 2008. I was like 6. It has taught us to be independent and led to an entrepreneurial desire after seeing parents and older siblings struggle in the workforce. So, like I mentioned a bit ago when I talked to you guys about it, almost over 70% of Gen Z persons believe that they would like to become entrepreneurs or at least dabble in it alongside of their career because of the Great Recession, probably. And they found that around 47% were concerned about student debt, while 36% were worried about being able to afford college education. And we're faced with the growing income gap and shrinking middle class, which has led to stress levels rising significantly in our generation, as they have found stress levels in teens now are more than like triple that of someone messaged me, are more than triple that of what is it called again? Asylum patients in the 40s. People who are in mental asylums that generally have like a large amount of anxiety have lower amounts of anxiety than that of people now in the generations now, which is kind of fucking intense. Sorry, she's fucking spamming me. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting distracted. Okay. Gen Z typically has no memories of 9/11. So we grew up after that with understanding of like, holy shit, oh my god. Like, we grew up with the intense stress beyond that, so it's a lot different than millennials who grew up during it or experienced it as younger children. Please stop messaging me.
So apparently get a shit ton of messages.
In 2016, the study found that church attendance during young adulthood was 41% among Gen Z compared to 18% of millennials at the same ages, 21% of Gen X, and 26% of baby boomers. So most of Gen Z at the moment portion of Gen Z at the moment in time are reconnecting spiritually because of that due lack of it in generations preceding and the lack of religious enforcement when they were growing up among their parents, along their families. So even though they grew up more secular than generations past, they are actively going towards religion as some sort of like I don't know if I would call it coping, but I would just think that they're trying to reconnect to something that they may feel that they have lost. In a 2014 study, most Gen Z students self-identify as loyal, compassionate, thoughtful, open-minded, responsible, and determined. And they see their Gen Z peers as quite different from their own self-identity. They view their peers as competitive, spontaneous, and venturesome, and curious, all characteristics that they do not see in themselves. So most of the time, what Gen Z thinks about their own generation is not necessarily what they think about themselves. They describe themselves. So a lot of them kind of move away from the identification with their own generation and would rather be labeled by something that they would think fits them more individually. So that's like a spread. They're a lot more independent, like pretty independent in comparison to a lot of generations in terms of people and wanting to be able to get shit done. They are more risk averse to certain activities as well. In 2016, 66% of teenagers or older members of Gen Z had tried alcohol, down from 82% in 1991. Also in 2013, 8% of teenagers never or rarely wear a seatbelt when riding a car with someone, as opposed to 26% in 1991. Researchers compared teens from 2008 and 2014 and found a 40% drop in teen pregnancy and a 38% drop in drug and alcohol abuse and a 28% drop in the percentage of teens who did not graduate on time from high school. So that means there's a great portion of improvement among growing up in teens and their stress and their ability to manage themselves and be responsible about what they do.
Huh.
they are more apprehensive about overtly sharing their beliefs and are sensitive to discourse in increasingly in public and politically polarized landscape. So most of Gen Z are scared to share their opinions because of backlash and because of things just for thinking the way that they do. They're turned off by it necessarily, not maybe terrorized, which is what I said earlier, but they're less likely to want to because they know what it is like to be called out for things for just stating what they think.
Right.
Gen Z is notably different in their situational identities, thinking that presenting an identity they think will be most relevant to a particular audience or platform or situation. So that means they change the way what they do, how they talk, and what sort of ideas that they express depending on the group of people that they are with to better mesh with others, which some people think as like, bad, but
yeah, because you're blending your view. That. You're blending your own view and ideologies just to fit in.
Sort of, but it's more in I think the pretense of like, it is negative in certain aspects if you overindulge and you're completely out of your own personality practically. Mm-hmm. But if it's understandable that you are similar to these certain aspects of yourself, of duality, mm-hmm. and that is fine to me. I may be loud on the internet. I may scream and loud, and you understand that. I feel free and I can just let loose, but I'm calm and quiet in real life. I try my best to, I may be mean and apprehensive on the internet, but I'm very kind and sweet on the internet. Yes, because you're a bitch. So I wouldn't probably say that to him if he was standing right next to me.
What you say, you little shit? I mean, like that.
I would hit him over the head with a cushion for what he's done for me, but that's more out of like you're being an ass.
I mean, that's perfectly fine. Yeah. But those are the characteristics of a Zoomer.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm. But let's go into one thing. So, one thing. What do you guys remember the most about your gen? Anything, culture-wise, TV show-wise, history-wise.
Ed and Eddie.
I mean, Ed and Eddie bridged generations. That's the cool thing.
It went from like 90s into like, I think, early 2000s up until whatever. Well, that's because they were catering to that generation too.
Oh, man, I remember living in a cul-de-sac without parental supervision.
I mean, shit, dude. I remember when SpongeBob was funny.
Oh, don't we all remember? At least most of us. At least it was like what until like 2005 or something.
And then the golden age, as I call it, the golden age of SpongeBob. It's still going because I mean.
No, wait, didn't the writer die?
End it?
Didn't the writer die?
No. Yeah, he died, but they're continuing it.
Oh Jesus
Christ! The creator left SpongeBob like back in season.
I thought he passed on.
No. The creator of SpongeBob is dead.
Yeah, okay.
He passed away.
He died last year.
And he left the show after the movie.
So
was
the writers, that's it. That's when I noticed the death. That's when I noticed the comedy died.
I mean, because like the creator wasn't around, the creative team, and the writing staff weren't as consistent for how they weren't. They don't know how to write SpongeBob consistently anymore without the creator's supervision, things like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
for me personally, I don't know. There's a lot you can point out from our generation.
Mm-hmm.
My main thing is I don't know. Considering that I'm mostly grown up with I don't know, cable and stuff. I guess pay-per-view.
Pay-per-view is another thing.
On demand. That's it.
On demand. Oh my god, on demand.
Yeah, that's it.
Remember, we also started to grow with the early days of internet. YouTube.
Early YouTube. I still remember earlier. I remember really early YouTube. I think I remember watching like the first couple seasons of Red vs. Blue or older Machinima, circa like 2005 to 2006. I remember watching all the
old Machinima.
When Machinima shit was great.
I think because I mostly grown up with Machinima and YouTube as my main form of entertainment. Especially during my middle. I
had that as like a side thing. That's all I had.
Machinima, YouTube, and just basically gaming. Gaming became just a big part.
Because that's like after homework was done, just straight.
I mean, I remember still because, well, I was family poor. I still had those days where I come out of school and go outside and play, and
I mean, a lot of us did that.
Play with friends, like you realize me as a kid was like Ed and Eddie kind of shit. We literally ran around the cul-de-sac.
For me, it was like a lot of us did like a lot of Nerf battles and all that.
Yeah, we imagine doing Nerf battles in a creek.
Nasty
creek water and shoot each other with nasty creek water.
Not just that, dude. A lot of us like younger, like I was like I think like 12 or 13 at the time. Yeah. I did airsoft.
Oh shit!
With a lot of the kids.
Rich
dude, no kids went outside in my neighborhood.
I didn't
been inside since I was young.
Keep in mind, this is when
because you're a Gen Z,
like the lower
Not
tier.
My
you know what I mean?
I would go outside if I had friends.
The thing is, Liz, your gen technology was rampant. Kids basically around your age, around like 2005 and beyond, kids by the time they were like 5 or 6 already had tablets and shit.
Yeah, everybody was starting to get into that whole.
It's not your fault. It's literally the gen before you, basically the late boomers and like the early Gen Zers who were handing off tablets, who left you guys in front of the TV, who left you guys with gaming stuff and everything. Basically, you had entertainment there at the house now. You never had to leave.
Yeah, you no longer had to go outside. You can literally just play with friends over the internet. At that point.
Playing sucks, because guess what? Just because we grew up with technology, most Gen Z people actually prefer face-to-face contact.
No.
Going over the phone.
Nothing beats interpersonal communication. Yeah. Nothing beats it. It's just that majority of the people of your age, especially when you're young. I mean, since your parents are basically leaving you with the tablet, with whatever, you can only just communicate via your phone, via your tablet, via whatever.
I remember flipping out when I was younger, because I was like, why is there an 8-year-old out here with a goddamn phone and I don't even got one? Like, what is this?
Yeah, remember how it used to be strange, and remember how it used to be strange. Now it's like,
these kids out here with goddamn tablets. I'm about to fucking toss that shit into the ocean. Dumb bitch, you don't need it.
Dumb bitch, here's a little rattle. You see a little 3-year-old with a tablet, like, bitch, use this rattle. Play this rattle.
Like, there's lack of development in sort of like understanding spatial objects and fucking touching shit, and like affection among people, because you're raising a generation with a generation that doesn't know how to like. These are people who just throw away like any sort of like presenting to their children. They're just like, yeah, they'll figure it out on their own. Or I'm going to, like I talked with Azazel earlier, I thought that it's really sad to me that there are plenty of parents who will take away things from their kids because of they're seeing it as dangerous or unsafe, when if you would just watch your children, or at least attempt to do better supervision, you wouldn't have such events happen. Like I told him, it's ridiculous that kids have drowned in dog bowls before. So it's odd to me that like there's this increased death that like, oh, children are getting hurt by this. It's not my fault. It's their fault. They need to have better regulation. And it's good in certain circumstances, but for some things it's like really bad, because I remember not being able to go into the monkey bars or the jungle gym because of perceived hurt, that I could hurt myself or something like that. We're kids. We do that all the time. Just because we bleed doesn't mean shit. But
remember some people...
there was just... no one wanted to deal with a kid getting a concussion because they did something stupid.
I remember some parents were like, oh shit, must protect kid from all types of damage. Some parents were like, it's a learning experience.
You want to know something interesting? As I was reading, it said that some people are considering the name Generation Snowflake because...
For millennials, right?
No, for me.
Oh,
because they're instilling this sort of, you're special, you're individual kind of shit.
I honestly thought that was like late millennials.
No, these are
it's millennials raising. You're right. Yeah.
Well, the whole like, dumb shit that they're all doing with their kids is technically child neglect and abuse in certain circumstances. Is weird. I'm not getting in depth on that.
It's mid-millennial. It's mid-millennial child raising. That's what it is. Like I'm a millennial, but I don't believe in that shit. I know I'm a millennial because I side with a lot of things that most millennials agree with. But when it comes to like kid raising, I'm be like, no, you don't have a protective space, you little shit. You say something dumb, you expect people to react to you for being dumb. You do something dumb, prepare, for whatever's gonna happen.
I wholeheartedly believe in freedom of speech, but I also believe in freedom of consequence. You say something stupid, you get punished for it.
Get clapped. Don't be surprised.
But I don't believe
you're free to say
I find it funny because plenty of generations would think that me protesting these people and not allowing them to speak is good protest. It's not good protest. You're technically not even allowed to usurp their speech. You're allowed to say, yes, I don't believe in this. I don't think you guys should believe in this either because I don't think it's right. But that's not it. That is from doing peaceful protest.
Right.
Being quiet outside, chanting. Not going inside the establishment and screaming over the people attempting to talk.
You're talking about like you're talking about like some of the modern era protests, which instead of trying to voice their opinion, they're trying to shut down opposition.
Yeah, most civil rights movements. It's not fun.
It's backwards. It's backwards logic. It's a backwards logic. But it's a weird thing that's been going on lately. I don't even think I want to talk about that one right now. That's a loaded question. That's a loaded topic. I mean, but right now, generation-wise, that's what we've all grown up with. These are the current gens that are currently affecting society as a whole and will be affecting society.
It's just unfortunate to me because people are screaming about how, like, these generations don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Every generation thinks that.
So, like, you gotta understand, you can't change much until your generation comes into power, and you're not on the pedestal yet.
Yeah, and the previous gens will always think you don't know what it is.
Gen X is going in. Yeah. They are the next.
Everyone was afraid of them.
Basically, of the government.
Everyone was so afraid.
They're not that bad. A lot of them are determined to be like more kind of. They're before this time of like. What is it called? Polarized United States. So that means they're more likely to be more balanced on how they hold their views because they're not as polarized. Because of the whole, like, they can understand things from a modern perspective, but also a traditional perspective, which is what I feel. I'm more a in-between type of person neutrally because I think that, yes, certain things should be done about social issues, but I also think that, no, you shouldn't fuck up the economy with certain random shit. I also believe that, these are certain things that, like, kind of ascribe to that as their own sort of, like, they're probably more likely to be more level-headed on their decisions than just doing it because, money. But you never know, because it could just be all about the monies.
Yeah. You never know someone's true intention until it shows.
We don't know what they're going to do. You shouldn't be afraid. Everyone was afraid of the president, but look at where we are now. Nothing's fucking burning it on fire unless it's California.
Yeah, but we all have to wait until Gen Z takes the reins, and we'll see what happens. And then we get post-millennials. Then we get millennials. Then we get post-millennials. But let's face it, it's going to happen. Every single gen will always complain about the next gen. A large amount
of Gen Z has great belief and hope in them being able to change the world. That is a key aspect, that they want to better their society, and a large amount of them in employment prospects want a job that's important and gives them fulfillment of doing something that will help better the place they live, help better the country they live in, help better the world. Which is interesting that that's a prospect among early Gen Z.
So Gen Z will save the world.
Don't be afraid. I know we're all stupid idiots, but we all were when we were kids.
Yeah. Facts of life.
You guys just get to hear the stories because it's on the internet.
I have full confidence in you guys. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I'll be safe when I'm retired or something. I'll be fine. Yeah.
Something
Alchem,
like
you're like around.
You're 2 gens ahead, behind, or whatever. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, you're post-millennial. So I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all, ladies and gentlemen.
How come you've got 2 mouths?
I mean, I have 2 mouths. My lips and my jaw. Also, my animation for this is supposed to be my mouth is just constantly flapping. Like that. Basically, I'm going,
Yeah, but it looks like you got fucking 2 mouths.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyway, I'm excited. I'm excited for the future.
The future
is
old, man.
It all depends on where these gens go to and where they focus on. Remember, some gens actually focus on politics, some gens focus on just the business. Some gens...
I'll say this much. I mean, hey, we're in 2020. What can happen in, like...
If we get the NEET generation...
Yes, I do get to vote for some odd reason, but, you know, it's weird.
What if we get the Dumbo generation? I mean, not the...
Oh my god.
What if we get... Oh, wait, Idiocracy. Anyone know Idiocracy? What if we get that gen? What if that gen starts to slowly happen? You just see a collective rising of morons just slowly coming.
I mean...
That's what we're fixing if we keep fucking letting kids live, even though they probably fucking shouldn't.
Not saying now, but I'm saying just, oh my god, what if that comes to pass? Oh my god, that'll be
I mean, hey.
If there's a kid who decides that they want to have a gourmet buffet of the goddamn Tide Pod bucket, just let them fucking die.
Wait, you just reminded me of something. Hold on.
Oh,
hold on.
I don't like what you're doing.
Hold on.
I'm scared, I'm frightened. Please don't do this.
No, I'm just seeing something I thought I saw. I saw someone post something or they're serving a drink. Basically, it's like a Tide Pod, and they actually put in a capsule because they were just making fun of that shit. I don't know why I wanted to see that when you mentioned it.
I'm like just so disappointed.
Alcoholic drink. Hey,
why are you letting your don't let the kid live. He's fucking dumb.
he's like Billy, no, don't drink, don't eat the time. No, let him. It'll be good for society.
somebody just literally just taps that. No. Just let him.
Just let him fucking die.
Just let him.
Wow. By the way, we don't.
I know someone who's had 7 concussions. The goddamn idiot.
Darwin
I will say this much by disclaimer: we are not encouraging anybody to do this.
Oh God,
we're not encouraging eugenics. I'm just saying that sometimes you just let people fucking die.
Don't listen to Liz, okay?
No, ladies and gentlemen,
no consequences.
No consequences.
We love you all.
We're not encouraging eugenics.
I know.